Chandigarh Lalit Kala Academy warmly welcomes you to the Chandigarh premiere of A Million Rivers, a surrealist fiction film by Sara Singh. Before we go any further, we have quite a few eminent dignitaries with us today. We would like to extend a warm welcome to Ms. Neelam Mansingh, Ms. Rani Balbir Kaur, Dr. B.N. Goswami, Ms. Nirupama Dutt, Mr. Kuldeep Sharma, Professor Prem Singh, Mr. Sameer Mathur, and Mr. Jatinder Mohan. I would now like to request Mr. Bheem Malhotra, Chairman Lalit Kala Academy Chandigarh, to please present a bouquet to Dr. B.N. Goswami. Thank you, sir. I also request Dr. B.N. Goswami to present a bouquet to Ms. Sara Singh. Not the same, sir. There's another one. Thank you so much. Moving on, Ms. Sara Singh is an award-winning artist born in the royal family of Patiala and based in New York. The Sky Below, her first documentary film exploring partition, was widely acclaimed, and the coincidence is that it premiered in this auditorium itself. She now brings A Million Rivers, a feature surrealistic fiction work that explores narrative through a fragmented, thematic-based story structure. This work, too, emerges from the partitioning of a place, resulting in the crisis of identity, fragmentation of relationships with others and self, fantasy, feeling of impermanence, violence, and aggression. It is a film that moves around complex notions in aesthetics, philosophy, and human interaction. The roles are played by two strong characters, Lilith Dubey and Om Puri. Om Puri is a name that does not require an introduction. His passing earlier this year has been felt as a keen loss the world over. He was born in Ambala 3 years after partition and raised in Sinor. He started his career on stage while studying at Khalsa College, Patiala, and then continued to join the National School of Drama in Pune. An extraordinarily talented and critically acclaimed actor, his illustrious career spans a period of almost 40 years and includes works in theatre, movies, and television. He worked in various Indian movies, as well as many films produced in the United Kingdom and the United States. A Million Rivers had its world premiere at the Victoria and Albert Museum in London. It has also been shown at the G5A Foundation for Contemporary Culture in Mumbai, the Kochi Biennale, the National Gallery of Modern Art in Bengaluru, and the Jawahar Kala Kendra in Jaipur. Before we move any further, I would like to request Ms. Sara Singh to please come on stage and just introduce us to the movie so that we have a better idea what to expect.
Okay. Thank you all so much for coming, and I'm very happy to present the work here because I did also meet Mr. Puri here in Chandigarh. And this film, just want to tell you quickly that it's definitely very differently constructed, so just keep that in mind. It's not a normal kind of story structure, and even in terms of the way I use sound and things like that, it's very differently done. So I'll look forward to your questions afterwards. Thank you.
So let's start with the screening. Just one disclaimer. You're requested, no kind of audio or video recording is permitted. And once again, just reminding everyone to please put their phones in silent. Let's start with the movie.
I just want to make one quick note that there was a little bit of an issue with the sound. Some of the sound was not happening, and so, and in a film like this, which is obviously very dependent on sound and not dialogue, it makes it a little more difficult because you're sort of losing a lot of some of the tone that is happening. But
Sharaji, I'm really grateful to see your movie, because in the new media art, the performance art, I think there is internal talking. Everybody goes personal talking. हम अपने आप में बातें करते हैं, और अपने आप में जब हम बातें करते हैं तो अगर वो बातें नेगेटिव हैं तो ऑटोमेटिकली स्ट्रेस है. अगर वो पॉजिटिव हैं तो we find something sublime in our own unconsciousness. Personal talk, what we call. So I found your expression is the outcome of your personal talk, internal conversation that enables you to go deep into your own unconscious level. Is it so?
Exactly.
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
Thank you so much.
exactly. Thank you. It's definitely very much a internal landscape that I was working with, and you sort of go through from various perspectives, different characters, and one thing I would say, like in terms of the construction and the editing, is that you'll notice that all of the characters have what is called a dissolve from one image to the next. And so in Lilette's case, there is not a dissolve used for her. So in that sense, I'm projecting her character slightly differently than the other characters who always come from almost a place of dream or memory.
Does anyone else have any comments or questions?
Hello, Sarah. My name is Vishal, and I want to ask you one thing first. By any chance, do you paint? Do you draw or sketch?
Yes.
Okay. I think that was very visible from the kind of selection of shots, and basically the fonting you have also selected for these titles, and the white background. Even they're sitting in a white car as well. So, I just had an idea that you must be, an artist. And I wanted to ask you one thing, that for me, this is an art film. And for everyone, everyone takes something different from an art film, just like a painting. So, one of the favorite scenes of this film were when he's sitting in a cinema and that guy is driving a cycle. And then there's a scene when the other actor, he gives flowers, and then he tries to shoot him. So can you explain me what was that meaning of that scene?
No. I think for me that this film is there's a lot of symbolism, a lot of metaphor, and I think, part of the point of watching a film like this is that you have to think about it, and you have to kind of cultivate your own interpretation. And I mean, for me to do this and then to tell you what it is doesn't make much sense to me. I can talk about how I got there, and why I used a white car, or how the scene happened, that kind of thing. But in terms of interpreting, I think that's why I've done a film like this. So it's the audience should create an understanding for themselves, and otherwise kind of defeats the point for me.
Okay. And I want to ask you, maybe it is one of the last films of Om Puri, and he has this character of maybe kind of a very dark character, we can say. So how was his reaction to this character? Like, how did he tell you something about the character? Did he change something about it? Or was he exactly like what you wanted him to be?
I mean, actually with his scenes there was a lot of improvisation, and I wanted him to be sort of natural and sort of everyday as possible. And so interestingly, he actually never questioned me, why am I doing this? This doesn't make any sense, that kind of thing, which in fact a couple of other actors would ask me during the process. And I think that says a lot about even how he approached taking this project, which was pretty much intuition and based on like whether he thought it sounded interesting, kind of thing. So as an actor and I think as a person, he worked very much from intuition and from his gut, and I think that helps also a lot in terms of authenticity and working in improvisation. So, I mean, in that sense, he just asked me to kind of describe what's going on. I would describe what's going on, and basically in one take he was very much there. So he made my job extremely easy.
I would like to ask a question. who inspired you to make this surrealistic fiction film? Have you previously seen these kinds of films in India or abroad? If before also these films have been made, I have seen this film first time, and because of reading this surrealistic fiction film, I understood that it is not for any storytelling. It is not for any movie, Mumbai like Bollywood like film. We have to understand it ourselves. But can you tell me if these kinds of films have been made before?
Yeah, there's quite a tradition in cinema going back, 100 years or so with this style. And I mean, not exactly this style, but in the sense of sort of breaking narrative and using symbolism and, sort of approaching the medium in a much more sort of expressionistic way. So there are many films over the last century. And
actually, I have seen many foreign films from Middle East, from Egypt side, from Europe sides. They are short films and made of 2 hours, and they are good, but they have the story to tell. They have to say something. But this is a sure realistic fiction, which film I have seen first time. So maybe more producers and directors are going to make this kind of film.
I doubt it.
It is good. It's good kind of film you have made. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Hi Sarah, I'm an artist. I paint, and it would be very interesting to know the journey of this film. It has a lot of abstractness, and that is what makes it so beautiful.
So basically, it's many years in the making, and with every stage, even if you're like painting or sculpture or that kind of thing, each stage might inform what the final product is. I mean, sometimes you have a very, very clear end goal, and you execute exactly like that, and sometimes you want to work. Like, for instance, I spent many years writing the screenplay and then went through many, many versions, and then finally it got to something that I felt was possible. And I also knew that there were certain elements that I would only be able to grasp once I was actually here, and I was sort of on the ground, literally, and absorbing the atmosphere and the energy and all of that. And so there are 2, 3 main things in this film that are absolutely the result of that kind of experience and through the process. And for instance, The Man with the Mirror was something that was not in the original screenplay, but happened, randomly. I was in a car in a small lane, and I saw, as people are in a very crowded way crossing the lane, and I saw a man. I just saw like a flash, like of light, and I saw that he was holding this mirror and he's making his way through the crowd. And it was such a strong image, and I kept thinking about it all day. And then later, this other image came to me of just a man holding a mirror and in a kind of nondescript landscape and just crossing the frame. Just don't know where he's come from, don't know where he's going. And so I was felt very compelled to film this, not knowing if it made any sense, if it was going to work, anything like that. So there was actually the driver that I had here in Punjab who was the man with the mirror, and so I filmed a couple of shots like that, and I thought it was really interesting, and so I just kept filming more, and then it ended up becoming quite central element in the film. And so there was a lot of risk-taking in terms of the process, and and I had actors that were very willing in some cases to go there.
I like to ask one thing. When I was watching the movie, so I found the man is walking on the screen, but the sound is coming from this side. Is it intended? If that is so, what was the idea behind it?
It's not intended. Basically, I mean, I'm not exactly sure. There was a bit of a low level happening with the sound, so there was even an entire layer of sound that was not even heard. So that's otherwise it should have been coming from both sides. So,
well, I would like to share what I understood, my impressions about the film. Very beautifully, every shot is a very difficult shot. And by negating the words or the dialogues, you are heightened the other sounds of life. And the feel of every scene is elevated when there are no dialogues. And I found it very abstract at times. I wish I could understand. Many images were difficult for me to perceive. But it was a very good cinematic, extremely good experience. Thank you for bringing it here.
thank you.
Anyone else?
Good afternoon. I really enjoyed this movie, which I didn't really took as a movie. I took it more as photos, which have been very wonderfully put together. And I thought it's a journey of yourself, a journey into your inside. And I thought with the mirror, which you have been taking along, it is something which I took it as a symbol, as a reflection for me to reflect into my inner self, to find out what is realistic about the inside of myself. And I think that was a lovely journey which you gave me also. And I think journeys are always very exhausting, very taking very much of energy. And I hope you have recovered by now and refreshed yourself for a new journey. And I also want to say, the way you have taken sepia as your tone of in the film, I think that was a very good thought of you, that you haven't put black and white and not put color, but the sepia, which is always a little bit diffusing and giving you a feeling of going into the past. And I think very, very intelligently put together. And I'm very happy that I've come to see this movie, which you want us to think over and make a journey for in yourself. And I think with me, I can say you have really succeeded and inspired to go deeper down. Thank you so much. It was really extremely good film, and I'm very happy that I've been able to come here and see it.
Thank you.
Sarah, I just want to say thank you. My wife and I stumbled into Sarah this afternoon. I'm trying to reconnect with my own city after 43 years. So I was an engineering student here, and then I've been in the United States since then. But art wasn't my big thing. So I've been saying to my wife, I think when we go to Chandigarh, I want to go to arts place, some place in art academy or museum. So we were here to see the museum. And then when we saw you, and then we heard the story, I'm happy we stayed. and I think it's an amazing piece of work, but it's also a journey, each one of us, our own journey, and the way you have depicted an amazing artist also, Om Puri, whom I have admired so much. And thank you. You are an artist, and so I think my introduction back to reintroduction to City Beautiful is through art, and I'll come back here again. Thank you so much.
Thank you. I think you hit the nail on the head. In fact, when I was running the text by Sarah, she wanted to be introduced as a film artist, not a filmmaker, and we can see why. Question?
Hi. Every filmmaker, or it's a means of communication, makes it to communicate something. It's a medium of communication. And as you said, that everybody will have to draw one's own perspective or meaning or abstraction out of the film. I wonder, I'm sure you had something in your own mind that you wanted to convey through this kind of format that you presented. You could actually share your perspective as to what it was. Of course, each one of us is entitled and free to draw our own understanding or insight into it.
So, I was very interested in exploring certain themes after having made a film about partition in this region, which is a region that has seen great trauma and conflict and continued conflict and trauma. So I was interested in kind of exploring those themes, and so those were kind of the overarching sort of concepts and ideas behind what I was doing. And also, obviously, out of these kinds of two very heightened experiences, creates memory, and you're haunted by things. So that it was an attempt to kind of work with that as well, and the idea of timelessness and all those sort of universal kind of things. So, I think I was definitely just coming from that kind of a place.
Hi, good evening, ma'am. Though I'm not with an art background, but still I have a query in the mind. I couldn't stop myself. The reason is I like the photography the most because I'm observing photography exhibitions in black and white for the last 40 years, and I think that I can observe a bit. But I couldn't get the purpose of the film. Can you please throw a little light? Because all are not with the background, same background, art background. Just clear the purpose. Thank you.
Purpose is to work with the film medium in an expressionistic way by working with certain themes and working very economically in terms of scene development and what is used to convey certain information. So it was an exercise in aesthetics, an exercise in the use of film, and the exercise in terms of story structure. And outside of that, it's working with certain particular themes to create a variety of stories as well as an overarching tone. So that was... Because even every time I watch it, I get something different from it. Thank you.
Madam Ji, first I congratulate you by producing this film, A Million Rivers. From my point of view, it is a depiction of everybody's life, full of melancholy feelings and sorrow feelings. So I give you many marks, good marks for this production.
Thank you.
I think that was the last question. We're a little short of time. So before we finish, we would just like to present a memento. So, thank you so much, Sarah, once again for giving us this enriching experience. So that's all we have for today. Thank you so much.